At the tone, please record your name followed by the pound key.
Abba PALTIEL.
Thank you. You're now participant number 2.
That's it, 2 or 3? 2. Still do. Okay. So we started Ois Lamed Hey. Ois Lamed Hey, we started talking about the phenomenon of a world level of demarcation, of separation. Up until now we speak about the different qualities of the nefesh, chokhmah, bina, das, and so forth. And there are different madrigas, higher and lower. Then we're saying that just as necessary as it is chalkus in worlds. A world means it's a complete presence, a complete structure, from top to bottom. It is not just a functional presence. It's a world, so to speak, unto itself. But however, it is not unto itself, because it is imbued and it is maintained by the oyer and the chayas that comes milmayla. But we call it a world because of the very sharp, very clear demarcation, differences between one and the other. This is why we have this expression over here, which I don't remember ever having before. That says that the Shtalshelus Nivchan begimel madregis. Nivchan, it is tested in 3 madregis. And the reason we say it's nivchan, because in fact there is not a demarcation line that separates one from the other. There is one oyer that encompasses all these talshalas and all presence. But within that encompassment, there are significant differences between one madriga and another madriga, to the extent that they can be referred to as 3 different worlds. And the motion for this is in a human being, that in a human being, okay, well, let's start again from the third line from the bottom, even though you went further. I just want to emphasize. Yeah. As in the example of a human being, that he is divided into three general sections.
Sorry, this is a mashal for
worlds.
Okay.
Because in the human being also we find something akin or similar to a world level demarcation.
And these three levels make up one world together, or each level is a separate world?
Each level is like a separate world, but we identify the worlds not as separate entities, but as separate, as different qualities. Nivchan means it's tested. That's what Rebbe uses the word nivchan. They do not function independently. They're not present independently. But yet there is a profound difference between these three aspects of a person. To the extent that we say this is a different world. The head is one world, the body is another world, and the feet are another world.
Head, body, and feet.
Right, Reish, Guf, and Regel. What is the difference? The difference on a, so to speak, on a primary level between Reish, Guf, and Regel. Let us take between Reish and Regel. That is, should be very clear demarcation. Again, the Regel and the Reish are very intricately connected. If the Reish wants to go someplace, the Regel carries him there. And the Regel does not need to be ordered and saddled to get him there. The Regel and the Reish are one thing. And yet we say no, but these are three different worlds within the person. So let's take Reish and Regel. That will be the easiest, because the distance is most clear. Reish, which is head, is not only the head, the beginning of the person. Reish is vested. Vested means it is focused on that which is higher. Regel, on the other hand, is vested in that which is lower. And then there is Guf in the Guf, which is in the middle, which processes, so to speak, that which the Rosh provides, and which experiences that which the Regel provides. There's the three distinct elements of the person. The regel stands on the ground not because there is so much significance in the ground. That's all the regel knows. Regel only knows ground. But the chayes in the regel, and what gives it the chayes to stand, the koyach to stand, and where does the regel choose to go? That is where the Rosh directs it to go. Let us think for a moment the difference between the foot standing on the ground and the table standing on the ground. The table is standing on the ground because that's the lowest presence. It's not holding itself up on the ground. It fell down to the bottom, and that's where it is. If there were a lower place, that's where it would go. The foot standing on the ground is identifiable in terms of it wants to stand on the ground because it has a purpose, a function on the ground. It wants to bring the head to this place. So that the ground element for the foot, yes, this is all that it knows is ground, but not independently, not separate from what the head knows.
What's that?
The foot stands on the ground for the sake of providing the head a connection to the ground.
Unawares to itself. All it knows is ground. But does it know, and it's motivated by head at the same time, yeah?
It's not motivated by the ground. It's motivated by what the head provides for the motivation.
Oh, so it kind of has a sense of...
Yes. This is why the distinction between these three madrigas, although they are so clear, are referred to the word nivchan. Nivchan means they're tested by. It is not a demarcation that actually separates them in three different realities. It's tested by you give a test in a classroom. You test what do the people in the class know. Doesn't mean that this is their limit. This is as far as they're going to go. What do they know as of given time? And what should we do next? This is a phenomenon, so to speak, of higher and lower, within the koiches hanefesh. Okay, let's go through quickly what we already did, but now hopefully we'll focus in and understand what the Rebbe is trying to tell us. Third line from the beginning of the Oyis. As for example, the human being, Nechlak, the Gimel Chalok Klolim, he is subdivided into three general chalokim, general sections. Hey, b'koiches hanefesh. And these divisions are true. The koiches hanefesh and the koiches of the nefesh, koiches nafshoy, v'heim beguf. And similarly, in the actual structure of the guf also has three sections, distinguishable sections. They're not separate, but they are still, in terms of nivcham, they have three different experiences. The hein, which are roish, guf, or regel. The head, the body, and the regel and the foot. Starting from the bottom. The regel, where in the foot, hu keach hahilu. This is where you have the koyach, the ability to walk. Shehu koyach hayoser achron shebenefesh, which is the furthest koyach, the very last koyach in the nefesh. Why is koyach hiluch described as a koyach hayoser acharon, the very last koyach? It is due to the fact that this hiluch phenomenon takes place in the lowest part of his existence. How does one walk? Even though there is a rotzen here, so he wants to go from this place to this place, and there's a rotzen hanefesh in the seichel that motivates him and so forth. Nonetheless, the koyach hiluch itself depends completely on being supported by the ground, by the lowest presence. How does one in fact walk? By the principle of friction. He pushes himself off from one place to the other, completely related to the bottom of existence. This is what's called a test. It's testing for the lowest level. Even though the hiluch has great significance, and it serves the head in a very important way, but it is dependent on the lowest aspect, on the physical presence. This is why it's called koyach hayeser achron shebenefesh, the very last koyach in the nefesh. How would we identify? How would we relate to the statement, the very last koyach in the nefesh? What would be a higher koyach in the nefesh, and the lower koyach in the nefesh, and the last koyach in the nefesh? A higher koyach in the nefesh is a koyach that is in fact a koyach, a functional koyach, but it is being carried by the nefesh. The lower it goes, the more dependent it is on its on its environment. It doesn't carry itself. Which is the koyach that is the most dependent on its environment, that does not have, so to speak, its own means of acting, is the koyach is the hiluch. You do not walk by moving your legs. You walking by pushing yourself against the ground. Moving the glass without moving. This means that this koyach is in a categorical distinction from the head. This is what we call a world distinction. Although it is still part of the body, and it is completely subservient to the head, and it serves the head, as we're going to see. This is what's called nifham b'gimel chalokim. The regel is koyach hahiluch. Regel is the koyach of walking, and this is the koyach hayeshet achron shebenefesh. This is the very last koyach of the nefesh. What do you mean by koyach? The very last koyach of the nefesh. It has the least amount of nefesh. It's totally dependent on the outside of its environment. The hagam, for although shekoyach hahiluch hu gam kin letzorech hanefesh, although that the koyach of hiluch, the walking, is also letzorech hanefesh, is also for the need and for the purpose of fulfilling the purpose of the nefesh. The nefesh is complemented by having a koyach hahiluch. It is not an extraneous thing. Let us go into this a little bit. You can move by riding a bicycle, or by driving a car, or by walking in your feet. And what is the difference? Can you say that the bicycle is letzorech hanefesh? The reason that a person can perceive moving from place to place is not because he perceives the possibility of there being a car or a bicycle, but because he knows that he has feet. This is what gives him the perception that he can move from place to place. Everything else is a mimic, so to speak. Is taking the koyach hahiluch and translating it in a different realm. But the principle itself comes from koyach hahiluch. The koyach hahiluch is letzorech hanefesh. This is letzorech hanefesh. You can't say that a car is a letzorech hanefesh. You're using it, but it's not part of it. It's a totally different experience. So that's why we say the regel, which is a world unto it. It's a world, a part of the nefesh, a world that can be referred to as a world, nivchan, as a whole world. This is where the person relates to the physical world, and this is what gives him that identity, that orientation. So it is part of the person, and yet it's a separate world, and a separate means a different level. If you recall, we spoke one time, we went into quite a detail that a person can see from the place where he is as far as the eye can see, and that he sees in an instant, and he does not experience it as having traveled from this place to there. Because this place and there is one place, from that level, from that perception. From Chochmah perspective, it's one thing. It's one and the same reality. When it comes down to Koyach HaHiluch, these are very different places. And to connect this place with that place, one has to actually count the steps. How do you get there? You don't get there because it's there. You get there because it allows you to get there. And there's a connecting means. There's a means to put the feet, the entire length of this extension. So this is a koyach hayiser achron shebenefesh. So this koyach identifies with the external, the world presence rather than the nefesh presence. Okay. And that explains further the Hagam, for although shekoyach hahiluch hu gam pilutzerech hanefesh, the koyach hahiluch is also for the sake of the nefesh. Like we said, koyach hahiluch is not like a bicycle. It's l'tzerech hanefesh. The nefesh identifies with the koyach hahiluch because the nefesh actually sees from this place to there in one instant. And koyach hahiluch is what connects these two places, makes it possible for him to be there. And then in addition to that, yesh yisrein. There is a yisrein, an advantage, means a contribution in the koyach hahiluch. In the nefesh there is koyach contribution in the koyach hahiluch, shehu meis es oreish, because the koyach hahiluch carries the head from place to place. Even though that the head can perceive this other place without being carried there, nonetheless, if he should want to be there, even he have to come to koyach hahiluch to carry him there. And furthermore, it makes the head stand up. This union that Mami Reservation made the head stand up is very important. Because this, in fact, just 1 minute. Mammon Zoresh, in fact, reflects the principle, and we speak all the time, that even though we're in the physical world, but we are not totally dependent on the physical world. We have an aloofness. We have a sense of being above it. What provides for this being above it? This is defeat. Therefore, the feet are actually reflective of what the nefesh is. It allows the nefesh to maintain its dignity even in the physical world. Mammon Zoresh. It is on the lowest level, but still it is reflective of what nefesh is. The feet do not force the person to stand against his nature. On the contrary, it is actually reflective of what the nefesh is. That he should be standing up and not be dependent on physical support. This is why the feet is in tzerech hanefesh. Okay, just 2 words on top. Yet still, this is the very last koyach, which means she'oir hanefesh boy b'miyud hagil b'yoser. That the oir hanefesh in the koyach, in the hiluch, is in a very reduced level, very reduced aspect. There is oir hanefesh, and the nefesh relates to it. But it's b'miyud b'yoser. It's very much reduced. You have to talk about this in each next time. Okay, so this is it for this week.
Once I do, I'm fasting. I kind of like opportunity, so I'm falling asleep.